Here you go. Here's your puppies. Here's your puppies. Come on, over here. Come on. Come on, sweetie. Right here. Come on. Come on. Back here and lay down. There you go. There you go. You can let them lick to get them to go to the bathroom because they have to be stimulated at this age to go to the bathroom. I usually do it at the end of when I am, after they're done feeding. But sometimes she doesn't want to lay down until she's done a few of them beforehand. So let me see if I can get her to lay down now. Okay, lay down. Good girl. Good girl. Here. Let's lay down. Come here. Puppy wants to eat. There we go. Okay, come on. Put your leg out. All right, good girl. We're try and get the bottom nipples because I've got 6 puppies here. So I try and get the bottom nipples out as well so they can nurse on the bottom and the top. And you gotta help them. Even these are about 10 days old, but even though they are older and they know how to suck, you still have to make sure that they latch on to the nipples, because you'll find out that they'll start sucking like up here and they'll be going to town on it and not getting a darn thing. And then when they're done, they didn't get any food, so that's not good. Okay, come here, sweetie. Alright, you want the top one? That's pretty big. Alright. Sometimes when you've got smaller puppies like this, I let them have the bigger nipples to make sure that they get plenty of food in them. Because a lot of times they get shoved off anyway during the feeding, and so they don't end up getting that whole faucet there. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna have 7 puppies. There you go, sweetie. Can you roll over a little bit more, sweetie? Just a little bit more. Here we go. Let me get that down there. There you go, sweetie. Can you find it? It's right there. And you're not on. There you go, right there, honey. And I watch them. I sit here with them while they nurse because I want to make sure that nobody starts going around behind and going somewhere they shouldn't be nursing. And I also want to make sure that mom doesn't get up and lay on them, because sometimes they think that they're protecting them by rolling over, and they'll hear a noise or something and they'll try and roll over to sit up and see where the noise is coming from, and then they can suffocate the puppies on the bottom. It's also a good time to love on your mama, since she's such a good mama. And if you noticed at the beginning, they were all pulling real hard, and that's because the milk hadn't come in yet. Now you can see that they're all happy because the milk came in. And at this stage, when they're about 10 days old, it doesn't take them long to empty her out, and so you'll notice they'll start pulling real hard again. And if their bellies don't look fat yet, or there's a few that don't look fat, you can let them stay on. And especially, we ended up having a litter of 9 puppies, but I only brought 7 in here because it's getting hard to put them all on at once because she's not a very big female. If they stay and continue sucking after they finish the first round of milk, then another round will come in. And just make sure that you're feeding your mom good. The mama needs a lot of nutrition, and we feed her puppy food. And we also let her get some hamburger mixed with rice or some chicken mixed with rice mixed in with her food. When they're first born, you want to feed them every 2 hours. And then as they get a little older and their bellies start getting, and they start growing, you can start going every 3 hours and then every 4 hours. It's usually every 3 to 4 hours all the way up until you can start weaning them. And as soon as they start getting teeth between about 3.5 and 4.5 weeks, you can check and see if they're getting their teeth in and they're starting to chew on everything. Then you can start introducing them to what they call gruel, and different people make their gruel different ways. As you can see, the puppies are pulling here. They're yanking kind of hard on her because there's no more milk left because they've drained her of all the milk that came in. So they'll keep doing that. If they're not full yet, they'll keep doing that until more milk comes in. And then once they start getting full, you'll notice they'll start falling asleep as well before they, so you'll get a couple that start falling asleep and then the rest will. And once that starts happening, I take them off and put them back to bed. And then let mommy have a break. If it looks like they're not getting enough food, I'll show you when they're done eating. I usually make sure their bellies look good and rounded right here to make sure they got enough food in them. But if it looks like they're not got enough food, then just let them stay on for about another 15-20 minutes or until it looks like their bellies are filling out. Some of them you might have to take off sooner, like this little one over here, this big one over here. Knows how to eat real fast, as you can tell how the difference in the size between those two. It's also on this one is the little runt, but that one will start catching up. But at this age, that you can tell a big difference between those two. There's also that you can also overfeed puppies, and if you overfeed them, they start getting white poop. And if that's happening, that means the nutrients aren't absorbing in their body anymore, and you need to start slowing down. Don't feed them as frequently as you had been doing, because you don't want them to get white poop where they're because they can start getting dehydrated and they'll start their system will start shutting down and they can die from it. So if that happens and you don't really know what to do, you can also call your vet, but just be aware that you can't overfeed them, and if their poop starts turning white, that's something that you need to take up with your vet or slow down feeding. But if the poop doesn't change within say about about 6 hours or so, during the next feeding, you need to call the vet and see what he needs you to do for that. All right, the other thing is this room's really nice and warm right now, but puppies can't maintain their body temperature until they're about 6 weeks old. So what you need to do is when they're away from mom a little bit or out like this, you can put either a heating pad underneath the blanket here, and then lay a towel over the top of them, just gently, and fold it back, maybe so you can see all the heads to make sure everyone's doing okay. But you always need to keep the puppies warm, at least about 80 to 85 degrees wherever they're at, because they cannot maintain their body temperatures. And if their body drops too low, they can die. I also wanted to show you that they can get diaper rash. Basically. They get a rash on their rear end that looks like a baby's diaper rash, and you can use this diaper rash ointment like you'd use on a baby. And you can tell my tube's pretty empty because it happens almost every time I have a litter, so I use a lot of it. And I do it every time that they eat. After they're done eating, mom's gonna clean their rear ends, and then they get really sore after she licks them. So I don't let her lick the ones that have the really sore rear end very long, and I'll take them to the sink and just cup my hand like this and let warm water in my hand and sit them in there. So like, let me see, this one had a little bit of a red one. I'll take them and put warm water in my hand and let them sit there and let it soak. So that way they're not having to get their rear end licked a lot when it's sore, because it really does hurt. But anyway, if you lift the tail up, you can see how that's bright pink or a little red in the center there. And that's a rash that you need to treat. You need to put something on, and it's from diarrhea. They get diarrhea from the mom's milk. Not always, like everyone here doesn't have that problem, just a few of them. But it's also the stomachs can not process the foods as well, or something where you give them a little tiny bit of yogurt just on your fingertip. You can put a little bit of yogurt on your finger and let them lick it off a couple times a day. And that'll also help the diarrhea. And I'm also giving mom Endozorb, which is something you get at your vet's office. And I give that to her about 3 times a day to help her get it in her milk to help the puppies that have the diarrhea. Oh, and if you get puppies like this one right here, that as it's eating, it's getting milk coming out of its nose, and it can't breathe real good, I take a clean rag, and I keep it handy when I'm feeding them, and I just gently wipe the nose off. And then to get them to keep blowing that stuff out, I just take my finger gently across their nose, and they'll blow some, and then I'll wipe it, and we'll just keep doing that until they sound better, until they're breathing better. Because you don't want them backing all that milk up in their nose, because they can't breathe very good when they're nursing. So you got to listen for that too while you sit here and keep an eye on them. you can see, the puppies are starting to slow down here, and they're not yanking, but they're not also vigorously sucking because they're starting to fall asleep. So everybody's starting to get full and they're almost done. It's been about 15 minutes. Yeah, it's been about 15 minutes that we've been sitting here. And I can show you what the bellies look like when they're nice and full. You can see how the belly's bulged out. That's a nice full puppy. And here's what the little guy looks like on the other side. Now by next feeding, that belly's not going to be bulged out like that. In a couple, about 3-4 hours, that belly's going to be, it's going to be a nice thin little line of a puppy right there, and that bulge is going to be gone because it's absorbing the food and the nutrients and probably going to the bathroom quite a few times. But anyway, and you can also tap the puppy gently, and you can hear them burp, because sometimes they don't sleep well because they need to burp, just like a baby. So you just tap them gently until they burp, and give them lots of kisses. And at this point, when they're falling asleep, I'll wake them up a little bit, and I'll let Mom do her job. And if I have puppy pads, I'll put a puppy pad under here. If not, I just get a towel or something, because it's going to get messy underneath where she licks them. Come here, sweetie. It's time to lick the puppies. It's time to do your job. Now, Mom gets wormed 2 weeks after the puppies are born. She gets wormed because she can pick up worms, and I've read that it's natural for puppies to have worms when they're born too. So you need to just make sure that you worm the mom and you worm the puppies, and you can start worming the puppies at 2 weeks as well. And I worm them with Nemex 2, or the active ingredient is pyrentyl chromate, and it's found in a lot of different worming medicines, and it covers hookworm and roundworm only. But at this age, there's the thing that causes tapeworm is fleas, and the puppies don't have fleas and the mom doesn't, so there's no chance of tapeworm. And whipworm is the other worm that's around, and I've not ever had to deal with whipworm, so I'm not really sure what they use to take care of whipworm. But you don't have to worry about that with the puppies. Now when she's done, if they're this is the time that I'll put the diaper rash medicine on the ones that need it. After the mama thinks she's done. And actually that's probably good enough. I also keep a nice big bag of baby wipes handy, because at this stage I just make sure that Mom got her good, so she doesn't get worse down here. And I just gently, when they're sore, you want to be very careful, but you want to get the tail. And I just want to dab the other area to make sure it's nice and clean. Oh, that's the other thing. You need to make sure that you clean them, and sometimes they get crusty down here, and it basically plugs it up where they can't go to the bathroom. So if that happens, you need to check that every time that they nurse. And then at this point, I would put them back in their bed. Another thing I want to make sure you know is when you have a bed for your puppies, make sure that you have nothing that's got fuzz on it or that's shredded. Like a lot of people want to use rags and pile rags in for the puppies to lay on. You don't want to do that. You want to have, like I have a blanket on the bottom here, I have a blanket, but then I cover it up because it gets kind of fuzzy. So I cover it up with a sheet. And then I use this on top to keep them warm. But you want to make sure that you don't put a ton of rags or for bedding, because you want to have it nice and soft, and that you want to keep it warm. And I buy a warming disc and I heat it up in the microwave, and then I stick it under this in their bed area, and then it keeps them nice and warm and they lay on top of it. But what happens with rags or say a towel that has frayed ends or something is when the puppy goes, it starts sucking on things. So it thinks it's sucking on mom or looking for mom, and it'll start sucking on the blanket, or it'll start sucking on the edge of the rag. And it can either get the threads wrapped around its neck or wrapped around it in some way where it gets hurt from a towel that has a thread hanging off of it, or it can eat that stuff. It'll suck it, and it can choke it, and it can die from that. So just make sure that whatever you put near the puppies, it's basically something that the puppies can't get hurt with. Be very careful with the fuzz, because they will suck that, and then it gets caught in their mouth and it can choke them easy.